All right, so today we're going to continue modeling equations and solving using algebra tiles. So let's jump in and build this equation. 5 plus 4x equals 13. Okay, so I am going to use 5 yellow units to represent positive 5. I am going to use 4 green rectangles to represent my 4x. And then this equals a positive 13. So I'm going to build it 13 yellow units. All right, I think that's 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so again, our goal here is to figure out what 1x equals. What is the value of 1x? So we need to isolate this variable. And so we need to first, our first step is to take away these 5 units, this positive 5 here. So if I simply take away 5 on this side, I have to do the same thing on this side because remember, you want to keep your equation balanced. All right, so that was my first step. So now I'm closer to having my x isolated, but I have 4x and I want to know the value of 1x. So now my second step is going to be to fair share these or to figure out the value of 1x if I take all my remaining units here and share them out. All right, so it looks like if 4x equaled 8 units, it looks like 1x is going to equal 2 units. Okay, so our value of x equals 2. All right, so now today we're going to also write the steps of the equation. All right, so we modeled it with our algebra tiles. So now what does that look like if you're solving it? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line down the middle, right here where my balance is. And what was the first thing we did, if you remember with our algebra tiles? We took 5 from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides here. So of course, a positive 5 and a negative 5 makes a 0 pair, and 13 minus 5 is 8. And so what I'm left with, and what we did when we were building it with algebra tiles, we had 4 green rectangles over here, which was 4x, and then we were left with 8 yellow units. So now we have 4x equals 8. And then if you remember, the second thing we did is when we had our 8 yellow units, we fair shared them with all of these x's, right? So think about what it means to fair share. Well, when you share something out like that, you can think of it as what? As dividing, right? So our second step is we're going to divide both sides by 4. So if you think about it over here, when you divide 4x by 4, what are you going to be left with? 4 divided by 4 is 1, so you'll be left with 1x, which is our goal, right? We want our x isolated. We want 1x over here by itself so that we can determine the value. So if you divide this side by 4 to get x by itself, you have to divide this side by 4 also. So then you're left with 4 divided by 4 is 1x. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and that's what we represented when we shared out our 8 units. And so we have x equals 2. All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to build it, and then we're going to solve the equation in writing. All right, so let's look at the next one. So we have 5x, so I will use 5 green rectangles plus 2. So I have 2 yellow rectangles equals 17. So that's going to take a second. So you need to take out 17 yellow tiles. It's a lot to build. That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We'll put this here, 17. Okay. So now I have 5x plus 2 equals 17 represented. All right, so my first step is I'm going to take 2 from both sides. So I'm going to take 2 from this side, and I'm going to take 2 from this side. And remember, when we're writing this out, that's what we're doing first also. We're subtracting 2 from both sides. And so when you do that over here, you don't have anything left because that makes a 0 pair. And then over here, you have 15 yellow tiles left. So then the next step is to think, okay, well, if there's 15 over here and there's 5 X's, I need to share these out with each X so that they each have an equal number. Okay, so when you share out all 15 yellow tiles, what does that mean you have as a value for 1x? 1x must equal 3 because I was able to share out 3 per variable. So that means I have 1x equals 3. And that also means that my next step here, when I'm over here, when I'm left with this 5x equals 15, my next step would be to divide. Fair share is a division strategy. And 5 divided by 5 gives me 1x, and 15 divided by 5 gives me 3. And so the value of x is equal to 3. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, so now I have 3x minus 4 equals 8. So again, I'm going to go ahead and build this. All right, so this time I have a negative 4, so I'm going to represent that using my red tiles. And this equals a positive 8. So on this side, I will build my positive 8. Okay. So now again, we're trying to isolate the variable, but I can't take away 4 red tiles on this side because I don't have any red tiles to take away on this side. So instead, I'm going to have to add 4 to this because that will give me a 0 pair. And if I have a value of 0 with these tiles, then I have my x's by itself, which gets me closer to isolating one of them. So I added 4 yellow tiles to that side, which means I have to do the same thing to this side. Okay. So now I can absolutely remove this. This is a value of 0. And what I'm left with right now is 3x equals 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, and so let me show you that in writing. So instead of subtracting 4, I added 4 because look, this makes a 0 pair. But whatever I do to that side, I also have to do to this side. So I added 4 over here also, and over here I'm left with 12. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And over here I am left with 3x. All right, so then the next step is just to share these out. Make sure each x has an equal number of tiles. So that means the value of 1x is going to equal 4. I was able to give every x 4. So x is going to equal 4. And if I show this step using division, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1x. 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. And I have x equals 4. Great. Let's build the next one, number 4. All right. So I have 2x. And then here I have a negative 2. So I have 2 red tiles equals positive 10. So I'm going to use 10 yellow tiles. And again, I want to isolate my variables. So I can't take 2 reds from this side because I don't have any reds over here. So I'm going to make a 0 pair. Now I have a value of 0, but I added 2 on this side, which means I have to add 2 on this side also. So now I can remove that has a value of 0. And I'm going to show you same thing what I did in writing. So I added 2 to this side, which gave me that 0 pair. But in doing that, I had to add 2 to this side, which gave me positive 12. And so now I'm left with 2x, 2 green x's, and positive 12. So now I'm going to share these out to find the value of one of these x's. So I will share all these. All right, so I think they each got an equal amount. So this x has a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just to make sure, yep. So x should be equal to 6. And your second step is to divide both sides by 2, because that will give us this 1x over here. 2 divided by 2 is x. And divide this side by 2, and you get 6. All right, let's practice 2 more, and then you have some to try on your own. All right, so now I need 6 rectangles because I have 6x minus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so now I have 6 minus 1, so I need to represent that with red. That's a -1 and equals -13. So I need 13 red tiles. There's 12, 13 red tiles. Okay, so again, my first step is I want to remove this -1. And in this case, I can do that. I can remove a -1 on both sides. So remove -1 on both sides. And so what that looks like is I'm going to add 1 over here in writing. So because I still want to make this a 0 pair. And I'm going to add 1 over here. So then over here, of course, I'm left with 6x equals, and then a -13 plus 1, positive 1, is going to give me a -12. And if you look at what you have left, you do have -12. Okay, so now I'm going to fair share these among my 6 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can share. So it looks like 1x has a value of -2. I was able to share out -2 with each of my x's. So 1x equals -2. And when you do this in writing, you'll get the same thing. Divide both sides by positive 6. 6 divided by 6 is positive x, 1x. -12 divided by 6 is -2. All right. All right, let's look at one more. So I have 3x and a -2 equals -8. All right. So it's interesting when we're doing this in writing, we're going to add 2 to both sides. When we're modeling this with our tiles, you can just take 2 away from both sides. However, taking 2 away from both sides is the same thing as adding a positive 2 to both sides, because what happens is you create this 0 pair, this 0 pair. Either way, you get the same remaining tiles on this side, which is -6. Okay, let me put these back and make sure you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so we got 3x minus 2 equals a -8. All right, so I'm going to take 2 red tiles from this side and 2 red tiles from this side, and I have 3x equals -6. And so what I was showing you with the 0 pairs is when we write this, we add 2 to both sides, which I could do with my tiles also. And then what I'm left with over here are no constants. I've got my 3x left. And over on the right side, I have negative 8 plus 2, which of course leaves me with negative 6. Okay, and so I just need to share these out. And when I do that, I have 1x equals negative 2, same answer as last time. Our values, our answers stay the absolute values stay a little small so that you can model all of these with the algebra tiles because the algebra tiles only have 20 units per pack. All right, so now I'm going to divide. We know this is going to be a negative 2. That's what we were shown with our algebra tiles, but I'm going to finish writing this out. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1x left. Negative 6 divided by 3 gives me negative 2. All right, great job.